Hi. Let's see if the video is better on this way. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so I have a couple of tips for breastfeeding. So I put it on here. Okay, so I have a couple tips for breastfeeding. Hey. Okay, so tip number one for breastfeeding is when you're breastfeeding, make sure you hold the breast. And even if you have one of those little pillow things, I personally didn't use the pillow. I had one. I didn't use it because it was uncomfortable, and it may have been uncomfortable because before, when I first started breastfeeding, I didn't have the pillow, and I just had to start knowing where to place my baby, et cetera, et cetera. So once I knew where to place my baby, I just got comfortable doing it the way I started doing it before. So when I was introduced to the pillow, like maybe a month into being a new mom breastfeeding, I was introduced to the pillow. I didn't like it anymore. Like I didn't feel comfortable having the pillow. It just wasn't comfortable for the feeding process for me. But it might be different for you. But yes, even if you have the pillow, are you doing it just old school, holding the baby? Make sure that you hold your breast, and that's important because if you don't hold your breast while you're breastfeeding, your gravity, the baby's gonna be sucking down, and your breasts are gonna be sucking. I mean, your breasts are gonna be pulling down, and by the end of the breastfeeding process, your breasts are gonna be like very saggy and low. And just because you're a mom don't mean you're gonna have just because you're a new mom doesn't mean that you have to have, a mom bod, like they say. Like you can protect your body and you can do different things to assist your body and assist your baby while your baby is feeding. Another reason why it's really important to hold the breast, especially when your baby is like new, because your baby can only suck, the strength of their suck is only so strong. So by you holding it and squeezing it gently, especially where places where you feel there's milk held there, or yeah, milk holding there or held, I'm not sure which word, but you know what I mean. Wherever you feel like the milk is, and you squeeze it gently while you're holding it, it can aid that milk in coming out and flowing through the ducts. That's another reason why it's important to hold your breast while you're breastfeeding. Another thing I suggest when breastfeeding is don't allow your baby to use your breast as a nipple. So what are you talking about? So your baby's feeding, knocks out on the tata mama. That's why I call my breast a tata mama. So knocks out on the tata mama, and then he or she is just still has your breast in its mouth or his or her mouth, and then they're sleeping. Don't get into the habit of that because eventually you're going to want to take your baby to daycare or child care, and no one is going to put their tata mama in your baby's mouth to pacify them. And then that's another thing too, it goes into like the pacifier concept. So the baby's using your tata mama as a pacifier to soothe the baby, and the tata mama and the pacifier are two different like textures and entities. And even if you, so let's say you start doing that and then you transition into giving your baby the pacifier, the baby isn't going to take that pacifier right away, and it's going to be like a transition, like episode, like a thing, because it got used to, or he or she got used to holding their mouth on your breast to soothe themselves. So don't get into the habit of that. And it's really easy to do because you could fall asleep and the baby be on the top mom, you wake up like, dang. Especially when you're new. So like be mindful. Like you want to try your best to put the baby to sleep before you fall asleep. But like in the middle of the night when you're a new mom, I get it. But don't don't make a habit of that, because then that's gonna be hard to wean the baby off of you. Speaking of weaning the baby off of you, something that I'm actively working on, I haven't gotten down pack yet, is that you need to be pumping in a bottle because you aren't going to be able to have your baby. Majority of the time, you can have your baby with you, like 95% of the time, but it's still those 5% of the times where you don't have your baby with you and your baby's going to get hungry, right? So you really, 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 really want to start pumping in a bottle and give your babies the milk out the bottle too, because you want your baby to learn how to take from the bottle, understand like, oh, I can get milk, I can get what I need to get from this right here too. So that's really important because again, especially if like you only have like a 3 month period. I'm so blessed and so fortunate that I have more than a 3 month period. But let's say you only have a 3 month period to get your baby like together in regards to like, you know, transitioning the baby to not being on you. And especially if you still want to breastfeed. A lot of people want to breastfeed, but they're like, oh, I have to stop breastfeeding, I'm going back to work. You don't have to stop breastfeeding. You can still pump, but give your baby home. Oh, I can from sorry, I don't know what happened. I can take it from mama's hot to mama, and I can take it from the bottle. So that's another tip I have. But let me see. I'm going off the dome because I just really wanted to get this one out. And I, like I said, I'm actively working on that too. Baby has gotten better with like, okay, because sometimes I'm like, take the bottle, take the bottle. But it's just like baby and I are both used to like just feeding off the breast, and I have to, you know, again, actively wean myself off of that because it's gonna come a time where I'm not gonna be able to just to be there for baby when baby's hungry, and baby takes food now too, so that helps a lot. But before like that, I believe it's 4 months. I could be wrong. Or 6 months. I think 6 months is when they can start eating solid food. Before those 6 months, you're not going to be able to give your baby food like that. So you need to be introducing the baby to the bottle. So that's another thing. A breastfeeding tip that I have is very antiquated and old school, but I do hand expression. So when I pump, I pump just enough for a baby. Um, but when I pump, like when I put the milk in the bottle, I pump with my hand. And my mom is actually showed me that, and it works so much better than the hand pumps, even the manual pumps, because you're able to feel where your breast is hard at, and it doesn't feel like so droopy and sore and painful. And no one wants that, like that feeling. Like you already have all these different emotions going, all these different hormones going, all this different new mom stuff going. You don't want to add that to the mix. So I hand pump literally with my hands, called hand expression, and it's like so good. Like it feels so good when you're doing it, and because it's like you don't realize how that milk gets clogged up in different spots, and once you do it, it like relieves like that feeling of like achiness. It's like, oh, thank goodness, like I'm lighter now. So that's a breastfeeding breast pumping tip too. And what else can I think of? I'm gonna say one more thing for the sake of time. Um, Actually, I'm not gonna say one more thing. I feel like that's everything I wanted to say in regards to breastfeeding. Um, so I pray that this was helpful for the new moms, for a mom that actually already had a baby, but this is the first time that not he or she, that she wants to breastfeed. Um, Sorry, that really threw me because I'm like, what are you talking about, girl? So for the moms who this is the first time they want to breastfeed, they did formula before. They're like, oh, I don't want to do formula this time. I want to nurse him or her. So yeah, I pray this is helpful. Bye. It's Locks. Subscribe, share, like, comment below if you have any breastfeeding tips too, because your girl's looking for more all the time. I love information that could be helpful to me. So bye. See you. Wait, did I do everything? Oh, at the end stream. End stream.